speaking, then try to mute yourself. That way, we don't have a lot of background noise. I'm sorry if there's going to be background noise here. I can't control my dog or the kids outside playing, but so then that's it. So let's get started. So welcome to the first USC APAA Global Lifestyles event. So I'm honored that they asked me to do it. I'm Sky Kogachi, and I'm going to give you like a little bit of my life story so you can see, since it's called Global Lifestyles, I thought I would tell you a little bit about myself before I share with you 12 culinary clips. So let's see, I'm going to, yes. So that top picture you see, that is from my senior high school yearbook. I don't know if you can pick me out. So I grew up in Hawaii. I went to Pearl City High School, public high school, and it was a lot of Japanese Americans in that school. So you can see almost everyone in this picture is actually Asian. And I am the second person on the left. And then below that, you can see me in front of the Oscar Mayer Wiener vehicle. That was, I took that picture with my roommate from Alpha Rho Chi at USC. And then I studied architecture as well as Japanese. I had a double major, and you can see some of my models there from when I was a student. Then after I graduated, I worked for a company called HOK, which at the time was one of the top 3 largest architecture firms in the world. That is no longer the case because of firms just kept merging and getting bigger and bigger. But the project that I worked on was the Japanese American National Museum Phase 2 Pavilion, which is across the original Japanese American National Museum in Little Tokyo. So I worked on that for a few years. After that, I could either work on prisons, which I didn't want to do, or I could quit and I went to grad school. So I stayed local. I went to Pasadena Art Center and I studied furniture because part of what I did for the museum was I was not only on the architectural design team, but I actually headed up the interior design. And so I got interested in interiors as well. And then so during that time, I started working, doing a lot of residential architecture. So you can see a bedroom that I redid. And then there was a house that I did renovations on below that. You can see someone's like little patio covering and integrated sort of concrete seating area that I did. And also during this time, I opened up my own restaurant. So I've worked in the restaurant industry all my life. I worked at McDonald's in high school. I worked at various Japanese restaurants through college. And so Big Sky Sushi and Japanese Cuisine was my restaurant in San Dimas. And which is really funny. So my business partner, his family is part of his family is from Montana, so that's why we called it Big Sky Sushi. But since my name was Sky, all the customers called my business partner Jason Big. So even though he was smaller than me, his nickname was Big. And then so this started me on a path of actually designing restaurants. So we have Phoenix Kitchen out in Temple City. That's Game House Cafe, which is a board cafe in Glendale. Let's see, this is Frankie Lucy, which is a coffee and bakery shop out in Silver Lake, Echo Park area. We have Sakura, which is a shabu shabu place. Below that is OMG Grill, which is a fast food place in Van Nuys. And then one of my most interesting projects was Knockouts, which is a strip club in Arcadia. So I don't know if they're still there, but I thought the design came out really well. So I was very happy with that one. I never actually went there to see what it was like in operation. And then, so to go back, I don't know, this was like 2005 or 6 or something, that upper right-hand corner, that was the first house we ever bought. And in 2.5 years, we sold it 2.5 years later, we over doubled the price. So that was when the market was really booming. So we took that money, we bought that vacant lot, which you see below it. And then finally, we were able to save up the money and build a house. And 2 years ago, you can see the new house on the left of that. We built a new house, and we're still working on it. It's still, I mean, not the house itself, like furnishing and you know all that kind of stuff. Anyway, and so, oh, you know what? This is a little video too. So that's the view from the deck, which I think is amazing. This is a time lapse. I was doing like a lot of time lapses a few months ago when it was sort of cloudy. So, because I thought the skies were so beautiful. Below that is my dog Star, and you might see her down here in the corner as she keeps circling. That's her dog bed and her bowl. And then that's me and my husband just a couple of years ago when we went to Japan. So we tend to go to Japan every year for vacation, although needless to say, we didn't make it last year because of the pandemic. And I'm a little worried we won't be able to go again this year because of pandemic. So I don't know, that video is still running, but you get the idea. It's a beautiful view. It's great. It overlooks Eagle Rock. We see the San Gabriel Mountains. And we are so fortunate to be able to have gotten into this house before the pandemic. So I think that's all you need to see from me. We should get started. So tip number one. So I buy a lot of berries. I buy berries every week from Costco. And in fact, my Costco days are Fridays. So I went today and I did get strawberries, organic strawberries. I either get strawberries, blueberries, raspberries, or blackberries, whatever looks good that week. And so what you want to do is you want to fill a bowl with a solution of 1/2 cup vinegar, 4 cups water. It doesn't need to be exact. You really don't need to measure it, just something like that. You wash it out in the bowl, put it in a strainer, rinse it off, and then you should dry it either by leaving it in the strainer or putting it out on paper towels, or if you're really anal like me, you just take the paper towels and you do each one and you put them back in the container. But you take those, once they're dry, you can put them back in the container and into the refrigerator. And this vinegar solution really helps your berries last much, much longer. It's incredible what a difference it makes. If you don't buy berries because they end up molding in the refrigerator, this will help prevent that, one, because it lasts longer, but two, because they're so convenient. So instead of having to wash your berries every time you want to eat them, you can just take them out of the refrigerator and use them. So
Hi, Theodora
yes.
is asking you if her berries are already in the fridge. Can she take it out and do this?
Yes, absolutely. So sometimes I'm like too busy, you know, when I get back from Costco and I just throw it, like today I didn't wash mine yet. So I put it in the refrigerator. Tomorrow morning, when I'm doing breakfast, I'm going to wash them out and then leave them out to dry. I like to dry them during the day anyway, and then put them back in the evening. So it's perfect. If you, when you buy them at the store, a lot of times they're refrigerated anyway. So yes, you can definitely do that. So, oh, that was a good question. So you could see I'm like a really big fan of fruit. If you can see the whole strawberry thing up at the top right, but if you look below that, using them to dress up a plate. So this is a great idea too. So you can bake your pancakes. So instead of pancakes are a lot of work. So sometimes I like to just make the whole batch of pancake. And in that case, those are blueberry pancakes. And you put them in a pie pan and you bake it. And then all the pancakes are ready at the same time. They're very fluffy. You cut them in slices. If you're entertaining, if you have like 6 or 8 people coming over, and pancakes are so hard because we don't have a giant griddle to do pancakes for 8 people simultaneously. You can you do a double or triple recipe, put them in a sheet pan and bake it, and then cut them, and then serve them. You can serve them all at once, all hot, all at the same time. It's great. I love to have people over for brunch. You guys are all invited sometime. Here's another tip. So if you look to the left, instead of doing, you're gonna hear me mention Costco a lot. I buy croissants at Costco, but they come with a dozen. And just the two of us, we can't eat a dozen croissants before they start going stale. So I usually take the last 6 croissants, and instead of making bread pudding, I make croissant pudding. So you can take any bread pudding recipe, substitute the bread with croissants, and make that, and it's delicious. It's actually 100 times better than bread pudding. And here you can see I put blueberries on them and drizzled it with maple syrup, and that, have that for breakfast. So you can make the bread pudding, put it in the refrigerator, and then bake it in the morning if you wanted to do that. Below that, you can see, so you can use it for mini cheesecakes. I also made below that, it's a matcha cheesecake. And I like putting strawberries on cake like that, just or pies, because it sort of helps you figure out how to cut the pieces. So it gives you like a natural way to divide the pieces so that they're even. And then my favorite thing to do with fruit, I always have plain Greek yogurt in the house. Greek yogurt, fruit, nuts. Those are chia seeds, or you can put in sesame seeds, or whatever you want on top. And it's a really great, healthy, quick snack or side dish for breakfast. You're gonna see me talk a lot about breakfast because I'm like a big breakfast person. So tip 2. So going along with this breakfast idea, boiled eggs. So I spent, like my mother had this thing where it's like, you boil it for 13 minutes and you take it out, and I don't know, it was just, but it was never consistent. I could never really get it consistent. So I don't like having a lot of kitchen equipment around, but this one I use all the time. And if you do boiled eggs, you will love it too, because you can really control consistently how the eggs come out. So it comes with this little measuring cup, and you measure the water from soft to hard. You pour it in, you put the eggs on, you turn it on, and then it buzzes when it's ready. It's just amazing. So I always, when you go and get ramen and they have those perfectly medium boiled eggs, I mean, if you want to be able to do that, this is absolutely free. And they're so cheap. They're under $20. And they're great. And here's another tip too. So I've experimented in a lot of ways trying to peel boiled eggs, and some of them are so frustrating. But I found if you just take a bowl of tap water, just cold tap water, and you crack the shell all around, like you just all around the shell, you crack it while it's in the water. When it's hot, you separate the membrane from the egg, and it's so easy to peel. At the same time, the water sort of washes off the membrane or any small pieces of eggshell on it, and it makes it so easy to peel boiled eggs. And then let's see. So here's some examples of what you can do with eggs. So on the upper right, you can see a very soft boiled egg over a thick slice of French bread that's been toasted. Below that, I have, that's a medium boiled egg, and it's on some kind of Chinese, I don't know, my husband makes Chinese vegetables all the time. So I take leftovers and I put it over quinoa, and then there was a meal. And then if you follow me at all on Facebook or Instagram, you will see that I do a lot of savory oatmeal. So instead of doing sweet oatmeal, you can do oatmeal like it was porridge or juk or anything like that. Just cook it with vegetable broth or chicken broth. And in this case, I probably added some herbs to it. I put some leftover pulled pork and medium boiled eggs, some leftover steamed broccoli from the night before, and cut up some scallions and threw it on top. And then that was breakfast. And so it's so easy and quick. I love using leftovers. Below that, you can see like the difference depending on how much water you use, how the egg yolk consistency will change. And then this is another thing I'm a big fan of, cheap ramen. You make instant ramen. I only use half the packet because I always think it's too salty if you use the whole packet. But then you just put toppings on it. It looks like really expensive ramen that you get at the restaurants, right? So in this case, scallions, soft boiled egg, there's some chopped spinach. I made some bacon, And then I think that's ichimi on it, which is like shichimi, but only one pepper. It's a Japanese pepper thing, and some black sesame seeds. So you can do whatever you want. I think, get really creative. But I love instant noodles and dressing them up.
Sky, we have
Yes.
someone who wanted clarification about the egg. So you crack the egg while it's underwater to separate it?
Yes, yeah. And you try to crack it all around too, not just in like one area, but what you're really trying to do is get water underneath all the membrane areas so that it's really easy to pull apart.
Okay.
I mean, it's just, it was, I hate to say this, but it was like life-changing for me when I heard about this and I tried it. It's like, this is so easy. Because it'd be such a struggle. Like the egg would get stuck on it. Oh, it's so frustrating. And, I like to take photos of my cooking. And so like, if you have this terrible looking egg, it's really disheartening. Anyway, so, okay, tip 4. So we're gonna continue on with eggs, poached eggs. I really love poached eggs, but they're so messy in the pot and I hate cleaning. The whites get all stuck to the edges. It's really terrible. So, so I found these poach pods, which they're just these silicone pods that float in water. You just put a tiny bit of oil or butter so it doesn't stick to it. You boil the water, maybe about 1.5 inches of water in the pan. And then you put the eggs are in the poach pod, you put them in the water, you turn off the heat and you cover it. And this is for me, your times may change, but if I do 8 minutes, I get a very soft poached egg. If I do 10 minutes, it's about medium. And like my husband doesn't really like runny yolk. So, I leave his in for a few more minutes for 12, 13, 14 minutes and get the yolk fully done. And so there's tons of imitators. The original is called Poach Pod, and you just go on Amazon and they're like super, super cheap. So I use this a lot. And of course, you're going to see more breakfast dishes from them. So on the upper right, you can see I have a soft poached egg. The back one is hard because that's my husband's dish. So I made some sausage. I got some frozen hash browns. Actually, I think they're probably tater tots, which I mashed up. And then I cooked some, actually, I think those are leftover bok choy that I just put on and I like put some cheese on it, So it looks fancy, but it's like super easy. Below that, we have a poached egg on that's like a sausage patty on top of, I think that's a toasted Irish soda bread. And then I like to put furikake on top of my egg. So if you don't know what that is, it's like Japanese people, especially to get kids to eat their rice, they put these kind of flavorings on top. This one is ume shiso, which is plum, Japanese basil, sometimes called Japanese mint, but they'll have different flavors, egg flavor, ones that are more sesame and nori, seaweed type, but they're great on eggs instead of using salt to flavor them. And over on the left, you can see another like avocado toast with a poached egg on top. And that's actually a Japanese cheesecake, souffle cheesecake, which I have a recipe for that on alonetogetherbaking.com. So if you ever find yourself wanting to make a super, super light, airy, fluffy cheesecake that's not too sweet, that's a great dessert. So on the lower left with the apple slices, this is something I did a long time ago, but you could poach those eggs along with other things in the poacher if you want to. So that's what that is. Anyway, so let's move on to tip 5. So I also, this is breakfast again, but quiche. I really love quiche, but making crust is really time consuming and I don't normally buy pre-made crust and leave it in the freezer. I don't have a lot of freezer space. So, but I do have panko in my pantry all the time. And for those of you who don't know what it is, panko is the Japanese word for their breadcrumbs. They're really, they're bigger than Italian breadcrumbs. They're really crunchy. And so to save time, you just coat your pie pan with butter or oil. You add about ½ cup of panko in it and then throw it in the oven and start preheating your oven for your quiche, and you can just leave it in there until you're ready. And then just use your favorite quiche recipe. So my recipe, the quiche base is just 4 eggs, 1 1/3 cup whole milk, and 2 cups of grated cheese. And after that, whatever ingredients you want to add, you just do whatever you want, bacon or sausage, ham. You can do vegetables like bell pepper, spinach. Just make sure that you cook them all before you put them in. So you have to actually cook them on a frying pan. And then you put them in with the cheese on top of the panko, then pour the egg mixture over it, and then you bake it. So you can take any quiche recipe and just use the panko at the bottom. And the panko starts to absorb some of the water and it fluffs up and becomes like an instant crust. Okay, this one is going to surprise everyone. This one really surprised me when I wrote it, but I think it got famous on like TikTok like about a year ago, but vegan bacon, and I had no idea. But this is wonderful. So you can take ripe bananas, take the peels, scrape the pulp off, and then marinate it. So you can use shoyu, like soy sauce, onion or garlic powder, brown sugar, paprika, pepper, whatever you want. A good base starting with either shoyu or like Worcestershire sauce can be a good base to start with, and just add whatever you want to it. You marinate it for an hour or so in the refrigerator, and then just fry it at low heat. And I couldn't believe it, but it doesn't taste like bacon really, but it tastes really good. I really highly recommend you guys try this. If you have bananas and you're using them and you don't compost, this is a great way to like not throw things out, but to use the whole banana. Okay, so we're gonna move off of breakfast a little, and citrus. So I have, in the new house in the front, we planted, that's a lemon tree you're seeing by my front door, Meyer lemon. It's a great lemon tree. If you're ever looking for a lemon tree, that's a dwarf Meyer tree. Next to that is a dwarf Mexican lime tree. Those two have been giving us a lot of lemons and limes from the very beginning. To the left of that, we have a blood orange tree, which has not given us any fruit yet. But I think this is the year because it just started flowering. This is the first time it flowered. So I think it's really established, and I'm looking forward to doing that. I like to slice blood oranges and dry them and then use them in cocktails. So, but anyway, we're talking about freezing citrus. You can use an ice cube tray. So you will, you just juice them. You can use a regular ice cube tray. I got really fancy and I bought this from Amazon. It's not that expensive. But it's so convenient. So they look really super cute too, because you put the juicer over that silicone ice cube tray and you just juice it. Either one lemon, it'll do like 1 lemon or 2 limes, and then you freeze it, and then you pop them out. They're super easy. They're like ½ teaspoon measurements, and you keep them in a Ziploc bag in the freezer. And so, I always found that, if it's not lemon season, I don't have fresh lemons. Then you have to go to the store and buy them. And I don't know, they're so expensive at the store. And then you can't use them all. Then you end up throwing them away. It's such a waste. And if you want to keep the fruit for zest, you can actually freeze the fruit. Just freeze the entire fruit. When you need the zest, take it out, zest it. Once you're done with the zest, cut the fruit open, defrost it, and juice it, and then freeze the juice. So it's a great way not to waste any lemons or limes. And then for all my rice loving friends out there, we eat a lot of rice in this house. We go through a lot of rice. Reheating rice in the microwave. This is a great hack. You just put an ice cube on top of it. I swear, I don't know who thought of doing this, but you put an ice cube on it, and surprisingly, it doesn't fully melt. You would think it would, but the hydrogen particles in it that are frozen, the way a microwave works is that the microwaves cause the molecules to sort of switch back and forth, but because they're frozen in place, they don't switch. So it produces a nice soft steam, and the reheated rice comes out perfect. And then you just throw out the rice, not the rice, sorry, you throw out the ice cube. And you can do it with pasta too. Okay, so, and this is gonna lead me to my next tip. We're gonna get a little sciencey here. It's called resistant starches. So I really believe in healthy cooking. And as we know, rice, pasta, or potatoes, a lot of starch, they get digested, they turn into sugars, they really raise your blood sugar level very quickly, which can then also turn into fat. And we wanna avoid that. So a resistant starch is when the starch changes in a way where it is harder for your body to process. So you don't end up digesting it in your small intestines. You end up digesting in your large intestines. And this is what happens with fiber in your body. It is digested in the large intestines where it actually ferments. And that's how it gets digested into your body. So the time that it takes to digest the rice, pasta, or potatoes, if it's a resistant starch, will be much longer. So you can reduce your blood sugar rise by 50% by doing this rather than eating freshly made. So all you have to do this is make it in advance, refrigerate it, and warm it up. Refrigerating it makes it, and scientists have known this for a long time, refrigerating it makes it into a resistant starch. The thing that surprised them is recently, I think 2 years ago, a UK university did another study where they also had it reheated and then eaten. So they would do some people where they would eat it where it was freshly made, and another day they would do it where they served it cold, and another day they would do it where they reheated and served it hot. And the blood sugar rise was reduced dramatically. It's a great way. It takes a little planning. So we do this now. Well, I do this now. I will make the pasta in advance, and I will portion them out and put them in the refrigerator. And then when I'm ready, I'll make the pasta sauce and then reheat the pasta in the microwave with an ice cube, and then take the ice cube off and then put the hot pasta sauce on top and serve it. It's super easy. Same thing to do with rice. You cook the rice in advance, you separate them into portions you like, and then put them in the refrigerator and just warm them up. It works for rice, pasta, potatoes, resistant starches. Really a much healthier way to eat some carbs and not worry so much about your blood sugar. So
we have a question.
Yeah.
So Theodora wants to know, do you put coconut oil in rice? She heard that also makes it more starch resistant. Have you heard about that?
I don't, and I haven't done a lot of research into oils. I mean, there's all these things about olive oils better than, canola oil, which is better than vegetable oil, which is better than animal oil, corn oil than animal oil, and coconut oil got into this mix and they call it a super oil, those type of things. For me, I feel like oil is oil. So, it's not going to be good for you. I mean, some are better than others. To me, this is a much better way to get a resistant starch. I'm not sure how much coconut oil you would need, but I'm curious. I will look that up as well.
You had another a comment about the resistant starch. I guess from Wikipedia, Leeway is saying that the physiological effects of dietary fiber, which is why so it's like a mint laxative, and why consuming it in high doses of the resistant starch can lead to flatulence. Has that been your experience?
I don't know. I've had a lot of flatulence all my life, so it didn't seem to change with resistant starch or not. But it's possible, because that's the same things that happen with legumes or other fibers. It could lead to, so hopefully don't do this when you're dating. But if you're married, it's fine. This is when you're with your family, you can serve this. But I haven't really noticed. Actually, when I started doing this about a year ago, I didn't really notice any changes, to be serious. But I guess I've always eaten a lot of fiber. You know, I've been on this oatmeal kick for like 5 years now, so I don't know. I guess my body is just, maybe your body adjusts to it and it gets normal. I notice I burp more nowadays. I don't know why. I think that might be age. I'm turning 50 this year, so I don't know. Maybe other 50-year-olds can tell me if they, or higher, could tell me if they started burping more. They got older. Anyway.
Yeah, and Liwei,
yeah.
by the way, is zooming in all the way from Kaohsiung, Taiwan. I think.
Yes. Oh, Taiwan.
Yeah.
Lovely.
So,
oh,
welcome, Liwei.
Welcome. Yes, I went to Taiwan. 3 years ago. Maybe it was longer than that. Could be 4 years ago. I love it. It was nice there. The bakeries are amazing in Taiwan. I seriously gained like a lot of pounds in Taiwan because it's so cheap too. Like it's like Japanese pastries, but for like half the price. So it's so exciting to be there. Anyway, okay, so
and one more thing. Mikey wants to know, what rice cooker do you use?
Oh, okay. So I'm just like doing, like correcting my typing here. So rice. So we used to have a Zojirushi, which is like one of the top Japanese brands, and it used to have this setting called GABA, which is great. It would take a long time, but the idea behind GABA rice is that it will heat the rice. It'll mildly heat the rice to make it start to germinate and then cook it. And that's supposed to release nutrients and more fiber into it. We have since bought a Tiger, and it's still one of those expensive frou-frou kind of rice cookers, but it doesn't have a GABA setting on it. And the reason we bought it was when we moved, we left the old rice cooker with my niece who bought our old house, because there's 4 people living there, and it was a 10-cup rice cooker. And so we have like a 4-cup rice cooker now, because it's only the 2 of us. But you can buy GABA rice now. So you can buy it where it's partially germinated. It doesn't look any different. I can't tell the difference, but it does taste like when we used to make GABA rice in the rice cooker. So yeah, so I have a Tiger now. I used to have Zojirushi. And I would highly recommend you all go out and look for GABA rice, GABA. It might be called other names. We bought a Korean brand, but we knew it was GABA. I think in small writing it said GABA, but it had a different kind of name, I guess a Korean name for it. Anyway, so tip 10, gluten-free baking. So I don't have celiac disease, but I do know a lot of people who try to avoid gluten for health reasons. Some people say that it actually, when they get off gluten, they feel better, they feel more energetic, or, I don't avoid it. I love gluten. I make a lot of bread. But for those who need gluten-free baking, this is an amazing product, which I have tried. And it was recommended to me by the head of R&D at King Arthur Baking, which, by the way, if you're looking for mass-produced flour, King Arthur Baking produces the best, store-bought flour you can get. Better than Gold Medal or all those others. It's an employee-owned company. They take painstaking, they're very meticulous about testing and producing their flours to ensure consistency. Anyway, enough about, I don't have any stock in King Arthur Baking, but so I have a bunch of recipes on Alone Together Baking. alonetogetherbaking.com. So you could take any of my recipes that are non-yeasted and use this gluten-free flour and substitute it 1-for-1 for the all-purpose flour. To me, that's incredible. And not just by volume, but also by weight. So if I tell you 350 grams of all-purpose flour, you can actually literally just take 350 grams of this measure for measure flour. So we have this on a subscribe and save from Amazon, because it turns out it's cheaper on Amazon than it is from Ralph's, which is not always the case. I mean, a lot of stuff was more expensive on Amazon, but this particular one was cheaper on Amazon. So, you know, we get it every 3 months. And if you're looking to do bread without yeast, look for Irish soda bread. So that uses baking soda and an acid. It'll either use lemon juice, which you'll have frozen in your freezer, or it'll use vinegar, which you'll have because you need the vinegar to wash your berries. So you can use those to do Irish soda bread, and you don't need yeast. The baking soda and acid will produce the rise in the bread, and you don't need to do a first rise either. It's a lot easier, but it's, you know, it's less flexible. You can't do as much stuff with it. But if you're looking for bread, that's a great bread. And if you're gluten-free, this will get you into baking. Okay, second to last tip, oven safe meat thermometer. I am so shocked that people don't have this. So, you know, if you're roasting any kind of meat, chicken, turkey, pork in the oven, get one of these. Make sure it's not the instant read ones. Those ones are plastic and they will melt in your oven. Get one of these. They're so cheap. You know, it's usually like a glass front and it's all metal, and you stick it in there. And it really helps you get consistent results. You know, even if you just use it for Thanksgiving once a year, you know, you can consistently know when it's done. So, you know, here's some, you know, chicken 165, turkey breast 165, turkey thigh 175, pork, the minimum is 145 if you like it more medium, you know, 160 if you like it done. And those pictures, so I recently, here's another Costco story. Costco had this great sale on pork, shoulder, butt. And I could explain to you why it's called shoulder and butt, but I think that would be a waste of our time here. But it is from the shoulder. And I've never made this before, but it was like 14 pounds of it, 2 of them, 2 7 pounds, and it was like $20. So I was like, oh, I have to buy this. I never made it before, but what I did was, you know, you just stick it in the oven with this thermometer and you know exactly when it's done. So I use a dry rub on it. And let's see, I actually did it to 190. So if you want to do pulled pork, which I did, you saw that actually, that pulled pork was in my oatmeal. So if you want to do pulled pork, you have to get it to 190 because you have to get it till it's fall apart. You know, but 160, 170, if you wanted to slice it, that would be the temperature you want to get to. And then below that, that was the first babka I ever made, which is, I think, a Jewish kneaded sweetbread. This one's a chocolate babka, which is very popular, I think, at Trader Joe's. So I tried to make it, and I'd never made it before. So I used my thermometer so that I would know when it's done, because I really didn't know. I didn't trust the recipe to tell me when it would be ready, you know. So I stuck it in. You know, bread's also 165, and when it was done, I took it out, and they were great. Yeah. So if you don't have one, get a thermometer. I now don't even need a thermometer because my oven has a built-in probe to it. So I just set it that way. Oh, here's another tip here, like tip 11A. Instead of roasting a turkey altogether, take your turkey apart. I do this all the time. I take the wings off and then the legs, and then I actually debone the breast and I flatten the breast. And so you cook the turkey, you cook them all together in there on a roasting pan. And you have the thermometer in the turkey breast. And when the turkey breast hits 165, you take it out, you remove the turkey breast, and then you put it into the thigh, and you cook the thigh to 175. So you can get your breast done perfectly, and it doesn't dry out because you need the thigh to be done longer. So that's my tip for you. It doesn't quite look as good when you present it on a platter, like it's not a full turkey, but you could try to prop it up to make it look kind of like a turkey shape. But anyway, okay, my last tip. So I love katsu, chicken katsu, tonkatsu, which is a pork katsu. I love all of it, but making it at home can be difficult. I really think deep frying anything at home is just a waste of oil because you only use it once and you throw it out. Whereas like restaurants, you know, they're able to do a lot of it. But the thing about baking your katsu is that the panko, the Japanese breadcrumbs, they don't turn brown like they were deep fried. So it looks really anemic. And to me, presentation is very important. I actually didn't mention this before, but my philosophy about food is that it doesn't just need to taste good. It needs to smell good. It needs to feel good, the mouth feel, the texture, mixing, creamy and crispy or something, you have to have those variations, but it also has to, it really needs to look good as well. And I think those four are really the key to being able to enjoy your food even more. So this is really just a cosmetic thing, but what you do is for every 1/3 cup of panko, use about a teaspoon of olive oil or really any oil, and you pan fry it till it's like beautifully golden brown. That middle picture is sort of in the middle of it. It's not quite done yet, just on a low heat. And you're going to do 1/3 panko for every katsu that you're going to do. And then you coat the chicken or the pork in flour. And here's another tip. You can dip it in egg, which is very typical, or you can spread it with Greek yogurt, which I also have in my refrigerator because I eat it with the berries, which I've used the vinegar to wash so that they're convenient to eat. So you can spread a little bit of Greek yogurt on it and then coat it with the panko. You want to mix some salt and pepper into the panko to give it some flavor. You may even want to coat the chicken or pork with salt and pepper as well. You can get creative too, if you want to mix in other spices, paprika, or if you want to mix in like dried Parmesan cheese or even chopped pecans into the panko when you coat it. And coating it with Greek yogurt is so much easier than dipping it in egg, which can be really messy. And then you bake it, use your thermometer, which you also got. So you know exactly when it's ready, 165, and then you can take it out and, you can serve it. You can buy some katsu sauce, or you can make your own katsu sauce if you want, or, eat it like chicken marinara. So it's like a really crispy chicken marinara. You can make a katsu sandwich with it, what they call katsu sando. So you put that in between two soft pieces of white bread. Or instead of using, I'm sure you guys have all seen spam musubi around. Instead of making spam musubi, you can do a katsu musubi, where you put the katsu on top of the rice. You have that little box, you smash it in, and you wrap it with the nori. So that's good as well. So, or my favorite, I can't believe I didn't write this. I love curry. I'm like I'm a curry fan. I eat so much curry. And yeah, you can do katsu curry so easily in your own home.
So
yes.
Anne wants to know if she can make tofu katsu.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. That is a great idea. So yeah, you can take a firm tofu, they come in those blocks. You can cut them so that they're, large squares of it, maybe I'd say you probably want it 1/2 inch thick, and then coat it the same way. And do that panko and put the panko on top and then bake that. Obviously, you don't have to worry about it getting too, in fact, you don't even have to bake it if it's tofu. What you could do is you could put it in a frying pan because you don't really need to deep fry it anymore. Just like a little bit of oil on it and then fry that up. But you could do it in the oven as well, and you could still use your thermometer to make sure that it got to a hot enough temperature, especially if you're using refrigerated tofu, make sure it's warm enough to eat, because really you're not trying to cook anything. You're just trying to heat the whole thing up and make it all stick together. Well, that's a really wonderful idea. I think I'm going to try that. Thank you.
Victor Shao, one of our scholars, wants to know if you can share your PDF with the group at the end.
Oh, yeah. I have to make it into a PDF, but here. Let's see. We can do that right now. So, let's see. Export to PDF. Well, why is this so dim? I can't see anything. Okay, quality. How about better? And let's this on the desktop. Okay, how do I?
You should just be able to drop it in the chat as a file.
Drop it in the chat. I don't know how to see the chat. Oh, let's see. No, where's more? Chat. Oh, look at all the things you guys are saying. That might be a file. There we go. What in the world did I call it? Global Lifestyles PDF.
Yeah, we got a lot of questions.
Oh, do I recommend getting a cast iron skillet? Oh, well, if you could take care of one, yeah, you should do it. But I'm like, I'm like a lazy cook, lazy big. I want to find the easiest recipes. Everything for me is like, it's about how easy it is. I love super easy recipes that are, that look impressive too, you know, like, and so, yeah, I don't have a cast iron skillet. I just can't deal with it, like seasoning it and taking care of it. But you know, some people have that kind of personality where they can do it. You know, I just have a lazy personality. Tips for making salads. Oh, could you clarify that? Like, what about your salads don't come out? Is it your dressing, or you just don't have enough stuff in it? I'm not sure. Or is this like Thai salad, which is all like cooked? I never understood why they call it salad. There seems to be hardly any salad in it. Oh, tonkatsu at what temperature for how many minutes? Let's see. I'm going to my recipe here. 400 degrees. And I don't know how many minutes because I use a thermometer, and you should too. So till 165. Yeah, you really want to make sure that you're not over or undercooking it. You know, ovens, you can set it to 400, but your oven might be 425. Your oven might be 375. I think oven temperatures are a terrible way to base your cooking if you're doing meat. You should just use a thermometer. Sometimes even if you're doing bread, just use a thermometer. Okay, tips are sent out. What brand of curry sauce do you like? Oh gosh. Well, Japanese curry, I usually get S&B, but to me, a lot of them really, if you like it sweeter, Vermont is a good brand. I don't usually like it as sweet, so I get S&B. So we have to compromise in my house. I like hot. My husband likes mild, so we just get medium hot, and we just deal with it that way. Was there any other questions on that? Oh my gosh, more questions. Oh, how to get the right moistness in a salad. You know, I don't know. I'm a terrible person to ask about salad. I rarely make my own salads. I usually buy pre-made salads at Costco. Like when I'm entertaining, the last thing I want to do is chop stuff up and make a salad. And I don't know, you know, you get it, and then it has like, oh, it comes with like mini tortilla chips and salad dressing and, you know, crispy dried corn and avocado mix, and you just put it there. And yeah, I'm sorry, I don't deal with salads too much. Yeah, you know, let's see. Oh, good, you have a thermometer, Rosemary. Very good. Oh, what started your love of cooking, baking? Okay, so it was a slow thing. I think, so I'm also an avid swimmer. And when I lived in Koreatown and I was swimming out in Santa Monica, there was a show, there was some cooking shows on. They're called the Two Hot Tamales now. Mary Sue Milliken and Susan Feniger, I forget what their show was called at that point, on NPR, and they would talk about cooking, and I loved it. And then when I opened my restaurant, there was another show that was on when I would be driving there on the weekends. Oh, it was Lynn Rosetta Casper. I don't even remember the name of that. She doesn't do it, someone else does it. People just call in with random questions. Like, how do I do this? How do I do this? And she would just make it up, like from all her knowledge. She would just say things. So a lot of radio programs really got me into it. And then, you know, I I started dipping my toes in some things. Like I had a friend who was a chef and he would make breads and I always thought, oh, this is too difficult. And then I got a book called No Knead Bread. Oh, I can't remember the name of that guy. He was a chef from Sullivan Street. He was a baker from Sullivan Street Bakery. Anyway, No Knead Bread, that's what got me into bread because it was so easy. Like it's not a milk bread. So it's just water, yeast, salt, oh, and flour, of course. You just mix it together in a bowl. You don't even have to knead it. You just mix them so it's done. And then you put it aside for 12 to 18 hours. Then you form it and then you bake it. And that was it. It was so easy. I was like, oh, that really got me into breads. And then once I got comfortable doing that, I got more comfortable doing, kneaded breads or breads with milk, and then it just seems so much easier. Yeah, like I don't know. I also just like to eat. I really like to eat, and I don't like to spend a lot of money at restaurants. It's so funny because I design restaurants, but I really don't go to restaurants much. I love restaurants. I don't know why. Maybe I'm just too cheap. That's it. That's probably it. I'm too cheap. So I don't go, I want to cook. It's cheaper, it's healthier. And so that's also how I got into it. Nonstick or stainless. I do nonstick. I'm sorry to say, I know it's bad for the environment. But it can be bad for your health too if you let it get old. So I kind of buy new pans every 2 to 3 years. And, I feel like it's such a waste. It's so bad for the environment, but I've tried stainless steel and my eggs stick to it. It's just, I can't do it. I don't know how to do it. Splendid Table. Yes, that was with Lynn Rosetta Casper. It's someone else now, but it was amazing. Her Thanksgiving ones would be incredible. People always ask questions about how to cook their turkeys. Am I going to write a cookbook? I thought about it, Carol. But if it was a cookbook, it's probably going to be an oatmeal cookbook. So I don't know if you would like that, but I have so many oatmeal recipes to share. There's so many things you can do with oatmeal. Not just like oatmeal in a bowl, but just oatmeal like cookies or breads or something. I don't know why I like oatmeal so much. I just do. What is my husband's favorite recipe of yours? I have no idea. He never compliments my cooking very much. So I have no idea. I know he likes it. He doesn't ever say like, this is my favorite. I wish you would make this more. He never says anything. Actually, he says things more like, oh, you're making me fat. Like I tried out a new recipe this week. So it was a no-bake cheesecake recipe, super fluffy. It just used cream cheese, some sugar, not even a lot of sugar, some cocoa powder and vanilla, mix it together. I did a graham cracker crust to it. It actually turned out really well. Next time I'm going to do them in little ramekins, so they're individual portions rather than trying to cut them. And he loved it, but then he said, you need to stop making things like this. So I said, okay, don't eat any more of it. And I ate all of it. I ate the entire thing. Like he had one slice and then he had a couple bites from another slice. And then I just ate the rest of the pie. How do you make katsu sauce? Oh, you're gonna need to look that up. I don't make katsu sauce because I don't keep Worcestershire sauce in the house, but it does require Worcestershire sauce. Everything else you would have like shoyu and some other stuff. Here's a website I can recommend. Just One Cookbook, justonecookbook.com. It is a Japanese woman. She has tons of recipes. They're geared towards making them at home. She has great ideas. She also has a baked katsu on there, although I think I got the idea from someone from another website. Tons and tons of recipes. She does have recipes for different sauces, including katsu sauce. Sorry, you missed the thing about pancakes. So if you need to make a lot of them, do them in a sheet pan, bake them in the oven, 350. Use a thermometer so you know when they're done. Actually, you can kind of tell when they're done because they get brown at the top and they start to crack, just like when you do it on the griddle. So, do a double or triple recipe. Oh, thank you. My home. Yes, I'm so lucky to be here. My dream kitchen. You should have seen our last house. It was so dark. The kitchen was tiny. It was terrible. Like we couldn't really buy that mixer. Oh, do you see the stand mixer over there? So I couldn't buy a stand mixer because we didn't have a place for it. So I tell myself I don't buy anything if I don't have a place for it. So once we got this kitchen, the first thing was like, oh, I'm getting a stand mixer, so I don't have to mix all these cookies by hand. It's a lot of work. If you ever make cookies, you don't want to make it by hand. Favorite oatmeal recipe? Oh, that's tough. No, that's like asking me to choose like a favorite child. No, sorry, Jabari, but I'm glad to see you're here. Overnight oats, those are good too. Oh, overnight quinoa, yes, that's really, really good. So that's even better than overnight oats. So you can look it up online. There's lots of recipes for it, but you know, you take quinoa, you put like milk, I think, in water and like vanilla extract or some, you know, whatever. You could throw fruits in there or something, and then you soak it overnight, and then in the morning, it's like a pudding. Oh no, you know what? I'm not thinking of quinoa, sorry. Someone said quinoa. I do it with chia seeds. So you do overnight chia seeds. And partly we started doing that because we bought this giant bag of chia seeds and I found like, oh, I don't know what to do with all of them. So, so that was, yeah, so I ended up doing that. Oh yeah, I'm sorry, like my calendar thing that I was supposed to go for a walk at 7, but I guess that's not happening. We go for a walk every night. And the thing is, we play this game called Pokemon Go on our phone. And that's what it also encourages us to walk, because we walk around and then we catch Pokemon. So, oh, gosh, okay. Beating egg by hands is a lot. Is it? Beating eggs by hands? No, just get a nice whisk. It shouldn't. Okay, so when you beat eggs, you want to try to avoid too heavily beating them. You don't want to get a lot of air in them. When you cook them, then they lose their creamy texture. They just become more like meringue. So yeah, don't beat your eggs too hard. Just, you know, lightly. They don't need to be, if you're doing scrambled eggs, they don't have to be like completely 100% all mixed together. Yeah. Anyway, it is 7:03. So I think hopefully I didn't miss any questions. Thank you all for coming. I'm so surprised there's so many people who want to hear like these tips, but I hope this is helpful for all of you. You know, keep cooking. If you haven't started cooking, start. Cooking is easy, it's fun, it's delicious, it's better for your wallet. Entertaining people is so much better at your house than it is, you know, at a restaurant, except for the dishes. But that's why you have a husband, right? That's why I have a husband. So anyway, thank you, everyone. So you all have a good night.
Thank you,
Thank
Sky.
you.
Bye.
Thanks, Guy.
Thanks, Guy. Brilliant.
Bye. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Guy. Excellent.
Oh, it's good seeing you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.